In today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys how I built this remote-controlled sonar boat to help me search for missing people and vehicles underwater. If you guys are not familiar with my channel, basically I do search and recovery, traveling around the country, looking for missing loved ones underwater, lost with their vehicles. And a lot of the places we go to have tons of ponds in the areas, and they're much harder to search. So I really wanted to come up with an easy way to search those ponds and run sonar. Now, the RC world is pretty big. There's planes, drones, there's a lot of boats, but there's not a lot of boats with sonar. Now, I've been scouring the internet trying to find someone that's also done this to model mine after, and there wasn't a lot out there. My goal basically in this video is to build one as cheap as possible, that is as small as possible, and works as efficiently as possible. It's a lot of possibles, and I think I may have done that. In this video, I'm going to be going over the build process, the materials, my thoughts, and how I came to this design. Now, this is just the first version, and if you guys like what you see, I would appreciate it if you subscribe, like the video. It helps me go out and make more content. Honey, you gonna help me with the boat today? I think that's a yes. So, the biggest issue I had when trying to come up with a design for this boat was when I was searching, there's a lot of these big survey companies that have made autonomous remote controlled boats, but they're like thousands of dollars. They're so expensive. And I try to do everything on budget. Also, I've never built a remote control anything before. I used to have cars, I was younger, but I really wanted to make something that was as cheap as possible. And this is something that you guys can do at home if you're interested in this type of work. It may be a lot more feasible than getting a big boat. You still have to buy the sonar, but if my math is correct, which is probably not, I was able to build this boat, minus the sonar, for around $1,000, or this actual number right here. I'm gonna put a list of all the materials that I used on this build in the description, so if you guys are interested in building something similar or improving on my design, also let me know in the comments what I could do better, because I'm trying to improve it. The next version is gonna be a lot cooler. This is just Mach 1, so let's jump right into it. So my design, like I said, is kind of all out in the open, but this is something that you can build yourself for about, around $1,000 I think I put into it. That's not including the sonar. I am using my Humminbird Apex 19-inch. This is kind of way too big though, and I'm still learning a lot, but it fits in the box and it works. For a good one, at least probably another $1,000, $2,000 if you're going to be doing what we're doing. This one cost a little bit more than that, but I use this on my boat, and this is the only one I really have right now. Eventually I want to invest in a smaller one, but this one works for now. During the process of figuring out how to make this, I was scouring YouTube, watching so many other people's videos on RC underwater thrusters, and this guy right here is the one that gave me the idea initially and the parts to try to get started on the right track. So if you guys want to go show him some love, I'm sure he'd appreciate that, and leave a comment. Tell him Adam sent you, and he gave me the idea to get started on this, so shout out to him. He was building an underwater drone. This one is a boat that just goes on the surface, but the concept is kind of the same. So these are underwater thrusters, and these are powered by these bidirectional ESCs. Now these basically allow the motors to go forward and reverse, so both directions. Now these are typically powered for RC boats, cars, planes, using these small LiPo batteries. But those batteries don't really last too long, so I want to make sure I can get this around the pond and power my sonar here. So I went up to a 12.8 volt, 20 amp hours lithium battery. Now my plan is to get another one of these to fit right here. So one is powered in the sonar and one is just for the motors. And then I'm even going to get a backup battery, because the first time I took this thing out, it died out on the water. Now one of my solutions, which I haven't messed with yet, is I got this little switch for a battery, so you can actually plug in a backup battery in addition to your primary. And I've been messing a lot around with this thing, trying to get the design down. I actually have several different cases I've been messing around with, and this is another one. I'm trying to get the size down a lot. I do have in the plans for the final version like an aluminum welded hull, which that's going to take a little bit longer. So in the meantime, like I said, I just wanted to get this kayak. I found this on Sam's Club for like $100, and it's like a 5 or 5.5 foot youth kayak, and it's got the right shape. It's got pretty much everything I need, and you know, it's really light. You can grab, I mean, it's going to be easier with 2 people, but I'm able to grab this front and this back. And now it's kind of a you know, Frankenstein right now, but I put some hardware in here, and this is my solution right now to hold the transducer. And it's just like in our normal other boats, you know, we use this trolling motor mount, which is adjustable, so you can lift that up, change the direction, and then this can loosen, the pole can go down farther, because you want your transducer to be under the water line. And that's really adjustable, and this is my temporary solution, but you can also use this as a handle. So I have some wide arms, I'm able to hold this thing by myself. So this is a mess right now, like I was saying, but this will all be tucked inside of this case. And then I have those running to a power meter, so you can actually see the amperage, the watt hours, everything, the volts going through it. And yeah, this is, I am using, if you guys are familiar with RCs, this is basically a transmitter, and this is going to send the signal to the remote controller, which I have over here. Now, I kind of went a little bit overboard with this controller. I went with the TX1S or 16S. Now, this seemed like a really good, I just wanted to invest in something nice. This is a little expensive. You don't have to get one this expensive, but this is what worked for me. And, you know, I like having the screen. You can actually see the levels of your motors as they're going. And now you can probably hear them going as well. So, I have it programmed. I'm not going to go into the programming of this, but there's a lot of videos online if you have this controller. But I have it set up, so as you can see, if I go forward, the motors spin forward. If I go backwards, they spin backwards. And I have it set up if they're going forwards. I can't really do this one-handed, but okay. So if they're going forwards, and that one's going too, and then when I go right, it shifts to one, it shifts to the other one. So there's a lot of different designs I saw other people doing where they had different type of impellers and stuff, but this is the one I decided to go with for now. Like I said, this is only version 1. I'm gonna have future videos, but the fun part is gonna get this thing out on the water, and that is gonna be the next thing here. I'm just gonna be testing it out here, hopefully, in this little park pond. And I have a sonar and everything in here right now, but I'm not gonna have that in for the test run. All right, so let's walk this down, put her in, see how she floats, and see what happens. I'm sure I'm gonna have to tweak the programming on these propellers, and hopefully they don't get caught up with weeds and stuff, but I don't think it's very weedy out here. We'll see. All right, so I got these 2 motors programmed, and I might still have to tweak them, but so my throttle here, if I go forward, it goes one way. If I go backwards, it goes the other way. Now, I don't know for sure if I have the propellers going the right way, so it might be back to go forward, forward to go back. That's why we're testing this out. All right. Seems like it's working. Alright, well, yeah, it is inverted, like I was thinking, but it is working, so that's pretty cool. I don't know if my power is set up just right. Kind of works. I just lost signal though. I lost control of it.
What you got on it?
It's just a remote control. I lost signal though. It's just floating up there.
So you got a little, like a mini motor on the bottom?
Yeah, it's got like 2 little motors. Alright, well, I've lost control of this thing. The wind's blowing it. I gotta move my truck real quick. The security guy wanted me to move it. But it's blowing over the edge right now. So let's go rescue this thing. This is why we do tests. Alright, good news is the wind worked to our favor, so it blew over here. Now we gotta figure out what's wrong with this thing. Let's see if it reconnects. Alright, well the fuse blew, which is a good thing I have the fuse because it tells me pushing too much power. Alright, so that fixed that problem. I'm afraid to take this thing too far out now because of what has happened. But I have the batteries that I know work how they're supposed to in there now. So as you can see, this thing turns. Alright, she's going. She's off. Looks like it's struggling and going too fast. Good thing is we don't really need this thing to go fast. So we have success. And this thing's actually pretty fun. I've never done a remote control before, and I got it on the first try besides the power. I'm really happy about that. I think something may be wrong with the left motor because it's only really wanting to turn one way. May have something stuck in it. That's coming slowly. It's fighting that wind hard. Yeah, something. I think the power is a little off. So that was a great test run. I'm excited it worked. It's got a lot more tweaking it needs, but maybe not a lot. I think it just needs the battery to run longer.
Alright, so we took this thing out in the water and we ended up blowing the fuse because I only had a 7.5 amp fuse in this thing, and I just looked over that. So now I have a 40 amp fuse, which should be enough, I believe. I admit I'm not an expert in power and electricity, but I want to say this should be plenty for these 2 motors, because from what I understand, they're like, you know, here's the specs on the ESCs, and when I'm fully powering this thing, let's go all the way up on our controller, and let's watch the power go up. And this is going to be the max power it outputs. So that's full throttle all the way. 12.8 volts. So, I think I'm good to go. Now there's still things I'm trying to figure out, like how long this battery will last running these things. So I'm going to be setting up this timer running these things, just letting them run, and seeing how long they can last, just to get an idea when I'm out in the water so I don't lose power. But like I said, I do have that backup battery switch, and that is my plan. Now perhaps the coolest thing, I was trying to figure out how to transmit my sonar video wirelessly to the shore. So after doing a bunch of research, I found this cool product, Hollyland Mars 300 Pro, and you can actually wirelessly transmit video. And this is normally used for like DSLR cameras when directors are out there in the field. So I got this cheap little screen. This is just a 1080p. It's like $100 screen, and this is something that's really easily portable. It's not touchscreen or anything, but I have the receiver Hollyland transmitter plugged into it. And you can see my sonar screen is already up and running, and it's pretty good. I need to test the range. We're going to have to test the range out in the field of this thing, of the video. But I have it going, there's an HDMI port on my sonar, and then that's going to the transmitter right there. I do have some pretty big batteries here. But that allows me wirelessly to see my sonar. Now I can't actually change it, but I should be able to at least tell in most of these small ponds if there is a vehicle or not. Like I said, this is kind of the current setup, and that kind of goes all over that. But now we're going to take this thing out in the field with the sonar and actually test it with the sonar and get an idea of the runtime and of the transmission signal range that we can get with this. So that's basically everything that I have so far. And then after all that is confirmed to be working successfully, we're going to take this out in the field, and hopefully we can actually find a car with this thing. One other cool thing in mind, I was thinking about transporting this, is that I have this just on some wood right now because it was easy to work with. I want to at least eventually do metal, but I have the 2 thrusters on either side like this, but I was like, I don't want to have them permanently going down, so I actually used a hinge, and I just have one of these little clips that locks it into place. So when I'm transporting it, it goes up, and then when I'm actually put it in the water, this will go down, and then as you can see, that is below the water line. And it could probably go a little bit higher. The one thing about these is I haven't had an issue with yet, but weeds and stuff can get caught in these props. So I was even thinking about having like a backup, one in the front or something, backup motor to like put in potentially if those get stuck. So I have this so you can go down once it's in the water, and then just simple little lock clip on the other side. I just lock it there and it holds it into place. So that was my solution after trying to figure out how to do this the simplest and cheapest ways. And it's not the prettiest thing, but I think it's pretty cool. I might just have everything in a box. And I do want to mount this a little bit better, but I have a lid that goes on top and then some bungees that go over it and attach there. So that's basically covering all the technical things. I still have things I'm working on, like the battery switch, and I do have this cool device which I use to record my sonar, the Clear Click. Now this thing is really nifty. It actually has a HDMI in and out, so that can go between the transmitter, and I can record that on an SD card in there as well. And this is a great product. It was, I think it was a little bit under $200, which I know is a lot of money. It's more than I wanted to pay, but it works out really well, and you can actually see what you're recording on this screen. So that's really cool, and that's worked out great for us. So that'll go between the transmitter, so I can record that and send the signal back to here, to this screen on the shore. So
I am on my way back to that park, but this time we're going to be doing a sonar setup and making sure that all works. It's a little bit extra weight, so that is something to think about. I don't think this pond is very deep at all, but you never know. Could be a car in this thing. Very unlikely based on how the park is set up, but I mean, technically you could drive something in there. If anything, it's probably more like a motorcycle, but it's like a gated park. There's park rangers. Very unlikely to find anything, but we're gonna test out the sonar boat, and I'm really excited for that. Hopefully it doesn't tip over. That'd be the only bad thing that could happen. All right, so we're gonna set this on side imaging and set the range to 80. And we'll see how that looks. Set up here and it's working. Probably can't see it too well on my GoPro, but it is 4 feet now. And I can see everything. Alright, the signal is starting to get a little spotty, but it's still going. My screen down there. I'm only going at 2 miles an hour. At about 50% throttle. And the signal still looks good, so this is a success. I do think it's the left thruster is a little stronger than the right, because it's going, it's wanting to turn a little bit. She ain't sinking, so that's good. Now let's go down this way. So the signal from the video definitely goes out before the controls, which is the way you want it. Ideally I'll be walking around with that screen though, so it's 4 feet, so it's pretty shallow. Alright guys, that is going to wrap up this video. I really hope you enjoyed this process and showing you how I did my sonar boat. I think I did a pretty good job considering the price I was working with and the materials. Like I said, you know, I am gonna have this thing a lot smaller. The next version I'm gonna have probably on like a welded aluminum hull. That's what I'm planning. That'll be Mach 2, hopefully. That'll be a lot smaller. I mean, this is not too difficult for one person if you have long arms to carry around. But I would love to hear in the comments what you guys think I could improve upon. And like I said, I'm not a master electrician or anything. So let me know if any of my wiring or design is kind of flawed and something I could really improve upon. I would really appreciate the help there. But I think this is a great tool, and we've already been using this a lot to cover so many ponds, so much ground. And my hopes is that we can find some vehicles and find some missing people, bring them home, just get some answers with this tool. I mean, it really shaves down time because we go out places, you know, a day or two at a time. We don't have a lot to cover a lot of area, and this lets us do that. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and stay tuned for the future videos. We have a lot more searching we're gonna be doing. There's so many missing people out there, and like I always say, we cannot do these videos without your support. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll see you on the next one.